Welcome back to the usual. Stuff explained being late to the party. At least it's not 10 years this time. But here's the secret. It's a canon event. So yeah, Spider-Man, or should I say Spider-Menace. I should not do a J.K. Simmons impression because I can't. But I will burn your house down with lemons, I'll stop. But today we are web-slinging into a Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse theory, and I personally believe this one could be very close to the truth given the evidence for it. So without any further distractions, let's dive right into it. The canon or canon timeline might easily be the most important part of the entire movie, because it sets a lot of things in motion. So, of course, most of it was set in motion by Spot traveling and the Spider Society getting involved. We learn about the importance of the canon timeline by Miguel telling us how he destroyed a timeline when taking over another version of himself. But how important is the canon? And how can it be that we see a different canon on a multiple of occasions? Either Miguel is lying to Miles, and if he was, why would he? Let's see what canon events are. Obvious ones are Spider-Man losing a father figure or a friend, like Uncle Ben, Uncle Aaron, or Peter for Gwen. And of course the reason for Miles' burst, Spider-Man losing a police captain to a falling building. However, during Miguel's explanation, we also see that the Mary Jane kiss and Eddie getting the Venom symbiote are canon events. So now that we have those 4 base canon events, let's see which of our known movie Spideys actually live up to those events. Losing a father figure or friend. Both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man lose Uncle Ben in their first movies. Tom Holland Spider-Man loses Aunt May in No Way Home. Miles Morales loses Uncle Aaron in the first movie. And Spider-Gwen, or Gwen Stacy, loses Peter Parker in Across the Spider-Verse, but we don't actually really know when that happens. So, I'm pretty sure we can say that losing a father figure or a close friend is a canon event. Losing a police captain. This is where things get questionable. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man loses Captain Stacy in the first movie, and Peter B. Parker loses his version of the police captain as is seen in the movie. And that's all. We never see Tom Holland's or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man lose a captain. There is Captain Stacy in the Maguire movies, but in the recent Tom Holland movies we don't see anyone related to that. Both Gwen and Miles' version of the police captain, who are both of their dads, or at least for now since Gwen's dad did quit as an officer, are yet to see their end in the movie, but I don't think either of them will in the third movie. So we already have a problem there, but let's get back to it after we set the other canon events straight. The Mary Jane kiss. Once again a little bit questionable because in some cases it's not Mary Jane, so we'll just make it the kiss. All 3 live-action Spideys had their kiss. Tobey had it with Mary Jane, Andrew had it with Gwen Stacy, and Tom with MJ, aka Michelle Jones. Both Gwen and Miles have not had their moment yet, or at least we don't know about them. Maybe they did, but Gwen did kind of lose her MJ variant, Peter Parker, and so far we do not know of the Mary Jane version for Miles. So once again, a bit of a shaky canon event. But last but not least, Eddie getting the Venom symbiote. This one is by far the worst of all, because of all the canon events, there's only one Spidey that had this happen, that of course being Tobey Maguire's Spidey. In both Andrew Garfield's or Tom Holland's movies, we see none of this happening. And we know it doesn't happen to Andrew because he is clearly based by how Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man says it in No Way Home.
Yeah, I fought an alien made out of black goo once.
Oh, no way. I fought an alien too.
I'm lame I fought a Russian guy in a rhinoceros machine.
So clearly that hasn't happened yet in Andrew Garfield's universe. And once again for both Gwen and Miles, none of that has happened yet or has been even alluded to happening. So, now that we have that aligned, here's a little show of who's got what canon events. Losing a uncle, father figure, or friend has happened to all the Spider-Man. Losing a police captain has only happened to Andrew. The kiss has happened for both Tobey, Andrew, and Tom, and the symbiote so far has only happened for Tobey. So, as we can see, none of those line up the way they should according to Miguel's canon. And I think there is 2 reasons for why they don't line up. Reason 1 is more to explain Tom's mishaps, and that's just simply the MCU. Of course, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is slightly different than both Maguire's and Garfield's Spider-Man, because both of those stick to the comics quite well, where Tom Holland's Spider-Man immediately gets to fight Captain America. Tom Holland is also the Spider-Man with almost 0 to no origin story, but there has been certain callbacks to it.
You got bit by a spider? You didn't bite me? Well, it probably would have hurt, right? You know what? Whatever. Even if it did hurt, I'll let it bite me. Maybe. How much did it hurt?
The spider's dead, Ned.
So we can presume Tom's origin story is the same to both of the other Spideys. His story just winds up a little different after Tony Stark discovers him. And since Venom is now also in the MCU, which we see happening in the post-credits scene to Venom 2, there is a possibility that Ned, or maybe the MCU's version of Eddie Brock, gets the symbiote. So the fact that Tom Spider-Man does not have his canon events lined up could be because of the MCU, but that still doesn't explain that even though they aren't there, how he could still be there. Because if we look at Miguel's world, it completely collapsed. So reason number 2, Miguel is just wrong. And this one is my personal go-to, because after all, how do we know Miguel actually knows what needs to happen? Every Spidey story winds up differently and they can't all be the same. So what is the reason Miguel believes canon events need to happen? So let's do an actual theory here. The original Miguel Spider-Man died in Nueva York because he made a flaw, so normal Miguel replaced him and found a way to make a spider fire. Does why he injects himself with it and continues to need to do so, also explaining the fact that he does not have a Spidey sense, which is shown in scenes such as the first time we see him where the vulture anomaly hits him. However, by doing this, that makes him the anomaly in Nueva York, so he started to glitch and invents the watch that prevents him from glitching. If we look at Mumbattan, their glitch there is only centered around Spot, but Miguel's original world is fully glitching out, except for the spiders that wore a watch. So what if he tried getting his world into Nueva York together with the Spider Society, because of his wife and kids he had in that world? Doing this would get that part into the wrong universe. And maybe he did an attempt of turning the city stable so it doesn't glitch out, but this clearly didn't work, and so he lost both that world and his family, making him live as a non-Spider-Man in a Spider-Man-less world. This theory makes sense to me because it would explain why Miguel was always so sad and disappointed, and doesn't like it when anomalies escape. But do we see something else like this in the movie? Yes, we actually do. When the Renaissance Vulture enters Spider-Gwen's world, we see him smashing multiple art things that glitches after he hits them. Even when he breaks the skylight of the museum, the entire museum glitches. So from this, I pulled the conclusion, when an anomaly enters a new world, they start glitching. But when they destroy or disrupt things in that world, they also glitch out. So, Miguel bringing part of his original world into Nueva York makes it glitch out because it interferes with Nueva York, just like we see Vulture do with the art pieces in the opening of the movie. So why does this mean Miguel is wrong? Well, if the theory is right, it would mean it's his own fault why his original world does not exist anymore. And we already established the other Spideys have not had their mandatory canon events yet, and we still have their movies and even saw them as recent as No Way Home. Do I believe Miguel is in the wrong? Absolutely. Even though most Spider-Man stories have the same events, it doesn't mean all of them do. Because not every Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Even Miguel O'Hara is not Peter Parker. So what if there was never meant to be a canon to begin with, and perhaps making the whole canon timeline is just a way of coping for Miguel, who has just lost his family? This would make sense why he gets mad whenever he sees someone breaking the canon. It reminds him of something he did in the past, which also explains why he doesn't want anyone, especially Miles, to stop the canon event from happening. Miles now has the attention of the entire Spider Society, who believe in the canon timeline, but if they see that nothing happens to Miles when he disrupts his canon event, no one will believe Miguel and question him why he even told that lie in the first place. And if that happens, Miguel would face what he fears most, being wrong, as he was whenever he first messed up and ended up losing his family. And I think this is something Gwen has noticed, because as soon as she sees Miles wanting to go home, she switches sides. And I think Lila may have also told her when her father would succumb to the falling building, so hearing that he quits leaves him out of the question for his canon event. That's why she wants to save and help Miles, seeing as he's right and that Miguel is actually the bad guy of the story, wanting to stop something because it would only positively affect himself and his lie about the canon timeline. So how would you stop Miguel, or at least make him stop? Simple, let Miles stop the Canon event and save his dad. Because that would ultimately show that Miles was right, his universe is fine, and that the Canon was something fabricated by Miguel to keep himself sane after murdering his own family. And with that dark ending to this theory, we're ending it today. I really enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse, and I think it easily beats Into the Spider-Verse. And originally this video would be 2 theories, but ideas, examples, and evidence would just keep popping up every time I wrote another bit. So if you want to see the other theory I had, check out the YouTube short I made about them. But there you have it. That's why I believe the canon was never meant to exist. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, please let me know. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe would be appreciated, and I'll see you in the next video.